right, everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome into Fresh Takes with Russo and Felice. I'm Paul Russo. The man next to me, oh God, is Nick Felice, and Nate Sharman behind the scenes as always. Appreciate him. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Paul. You know, when you text me every week when the show's going to be, I'm just looking forward to what day it might be, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe a Saturday night prime time. Who knows?
Well, part of this intro is going to ruin a lot of people's days today. And before we jump into it, we were discussing a little bit off air because of TikTok, one of the trends about random, say, athletes, or we look at baseball. And Craig Wilson's name appeared in the slideshow, and I'm here to ruin some people's days. His comparable players are Ian Happ, Mitch Haniger, and Byron Buxton, and Jesse Winker. A lot of people were high on in the world of baseball.
I think Craig Wilson should have been a former All-Star.
Well, I thought he was, so there's that. So.
He's a Pirate legend.
What are you going to do? Yeah. Speaking of Pirates legends, Damaso Marte got also brought up. Little known fact, Jose Tabata. Little known fact, Jose Tabata was a Yankee prospect and all that. I forgot about that. So,
yeah.
The more you know. All right. College football playoff championship. Discuss that. Wild card weekend in the NFL, and we finally have a conclusion to the Carlos Correa saga.
Yeah.
So stuff to get to.
Wait, we're talking about that championship game?
Yeah, we are.
We're just talking about the first quarter. First little bit.
Well, there's some stuff to dissect in the game, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah, let's dive into the stats.
Georgia routing TCU 65-7 to win their second consecutive college football championship.
I had the plus 60 when I first started. I made
Hell
that before.
Hell of a bet.
I made it before the game started. Got a little nervous there for a little bit, but yeah, what was it, 17-7 when they scored eventually? TCU?
Well, so TCU scored when it was 10-0 still. And that was the only one they got. I mean, Elk at that point just went on a 55-point unanswered run going from the first quarter through.
Yeah, they played well, Georgia.
Well, yeah, that's one way to put it.
They're loaded, though. You know, it's like I think if TCU was playing Ohio State, they'd have a better shot at winning this national championship. It's tough when you have, 10 days, 11 days to prepare for a game. And when you're a team like Georgia with all the talent that they do have, they're going. If you give them 10 days to prepare for TCU, I didn't see 65-7, but I mean, I see them, controlling and dominating the game, which they did.
Right.
So, it's cool that TCU, first Big 12 college football playoff win for the conference.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good run. It was nice. I personally enjoyed to see the Big 10 lose. So It was a good run. It was still, like you said last week, I think it was the most exciting semifinals we've ever had of the format. Definitely. Yeah, and so obviously the championship game, it's hard to get 3 good games in a row. So, but it was a historic game. Mm-hmm. People, I don't know if everyone's going to remember this game, but if you think about Georgia beating TCU, they're like, oh yeah, that was the blowout game.
Well, I think it will be remembered for a couple different things. Partly more negative than positive, I think, but let's start here because you bring up a good point, right? It brought up again the conversation of the SEC versus everybody else conversation, which to me I don't think is exactly fair in nature. Look, TCU deserved to be there. The fact that people out there thought a 2-loss Alabama team deserved to be in over a 1-loss TCU team, to me, is a bit absurd because, for one, this was not a great Alabama team anyway compared to TCU, which was probably, arguably, their best team that they've ever had, to be in all honesty. And look, I think you have to take into consideration, right? You have to go out and play and win in order to get to that point. Who did that more this year? Right? TCU or Alabama? TCU. Right? And we don't sit here and play revisionist history on some other champions at different levels, right? Like, sure, Virginia lost to UMBC in 2018, but we also now think more in the front mind of, well, they won the title in 2019. It's not like they didn't deserve to be in the March Madness, right? The fact of the matter is, you have to put yourself in position to get there. I don't like the fact that, like, somebody brought up, and it killed me. Like, they go, well, this only proves that, you know, teams like Boise State don't deserve to be in. Which, one, is a fallacy anyway. But two, they're not even in the same conference anymore. TCU has been the Mountain West since 2012. That's not even a fair comp, right? I think the fair comp would be, like, if you want to go back and say, well, look at Cincinnati last year. Yeah, that's probably a bit more of a fair comp than anything else. But Cincinnati also deserved to be there last year. It's not like these two teams didn't deserve to be there. And to that end, is the SEC the best conference in the country? Hell yeah, it is right now still. But it's a very top-heavy conference. You get south of some teams, and it gets messy quick. You know, I don't want to sit here and act like Vanderbilt's this gauntlet of a team. I'd rather run my risk, I think, with, like, say, Georgia Tech over Vanderbilt. But, like, look, the fact of the matter is the SEC is still supreme in this current spot of college football.
I think it would have been great if TCU would have won this national championship. It would have been great for college football. But you got to give it time. We got one more year of this 4-team playoff. In 2 years, we're going to have the 12-team playoff. Give that a few years. People are going to be going to other teams because you can make the playoffs with other teams. And with the transfer portal as it is, I think slowly we're going to be heading onto the trend where the SEC might not be the best conference at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
we're talking 5 times.
I know where you're going to go on this, but
I think other teams are going to.
Well, the fact of the matter is, right,
improve.
the Big Ten is going to improve in a year anyway, whether you or anybody else wants to admit it or not. Getting USC and UCLA will be big, but I mean, the Big Ten is probably already the second best conference in football anyway. In all honesty, and they probably have a bit of a wider talent pool than the SEC in terms of, I think, teams that could, in theory, make a run, right? I mean, I think we look at the SEC, Georgia, obviously, and we'll touch more on them here in a second. Alabama, LSU pokes around for the most part now in a pretty good fashion. At that point, I think I'd entertain Florida, but they haven't really done anything in the better part of 15 years now.
They can't put a whole season together.
Right, and then you look at the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State,
USC.
What will be USC, right? Michigan State, I already said Michigan. Michigan State, who had a down year this year, I wouldn't expect them to kind of be down like that. Wisconsin's only going to improve with Fickle there. So, I don't know. Take your pick, I'd say.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens to these other conferences when, Oklahoma and Texas go to the SEC and UCLA and USC go to the Big Ten. It'll be interesting to see how the ACC shapes up.
So you alluded to it a little bit, right? 10 to 11 day layoff here with these teams. For you, what went wrong with TCU?
When I think of these type of matchups, I just always go with talent. And it's just, Stetson, Bennett. I'm kind of on your side a little bit of him now. I don't know if you changed your opinion of him, but
I think it'll be a perceived change, but it's not. So, but go ahead.
I think any standard quarterback could have played quarterback for Georgia this year.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that offensive line is unbelievable. Their defense has already been good. I mean, not sure what happened. I think it's just. I give props to C.J. Stroud and the Ohio State offense because they figured out that Georgia defense that day. Because this defense has been unbelievable all season long.
Right.
They showed it once again in this game. With the huge lead, you think TCU would have got some cheap touchdown at the end. They denied that. And they're just loaded.
So,
is he their schedule next year?
Yeah. I mean, it's not. It's kind of the Alabama schedule, as I call it.
I mean,
which
they're going to be back in it,
right?
Well,
I mean, look, all the major Division I teams for the most part do play an FCS team, so it's whatever.
He's pointing at you, Paul, the haters.
Well, that's fine. He can. We'll get on him in a minute.
He's smiling,
but TCU, not to not to say beat a dead horse, but they kind of had the stereotypical Big 12 defensive moment here in this game where, and to be fair, TCU's defense was nothing spectacular, but they were beyond serviceable, which is what, to me in football especially, you need most of the time anyway. But just a ton of blown coverage, a ton of busted coverage. And it's not like Georgia's offense in particular. Like you mentioned, like probably your middle-of-the-road Division I quarterback could have probably led that team. I don't disagree. But that Georgia offense isn't exactly a chess book of trying to like figure out, what routes are they going to run or anything like that. Like they run a pretty standard, like Will Muschamp's not going to bust out any 40 chess moves on you. And at the end of the day, I mean, you had a guy like Brock Bowers who he'll be teaching physical education somewhere in next fall. But that's the thing with this Georgia offense. Like that defense has got 11 guys who I'm convinced can go in the NFL right now.
Is he really 25 years old?
Yeah, Stetson Bennett's 25.
Does
that make you feel bad, Nate?
That he's old?
That he's 25.
I mean, look at these stats.
So that's a perfect little segue. Exactly. I mean, he walked on at Georgia in 2009. So it's kind of the perfect segue, this legacy of what will be this Bulldog team at this point, because they're the first back-to-back since 2012 with Alabama. First time in this college football playoff. Stetson Bennett officially has a rating of 94.1 in the game, which is the highest for any player in the college football playoff era. So 9 years now, and he's got the highest. Again, this is where, like I said, I think people will think my opinion on him's changed. It's perceived change, but it's not. At the end of the day, he's going to go down as one of the legacy quarterbacks in college football history because of this 2-year run, in all honesty. And good for him. I respect him for that. But he's not going to – it's not like a spectacular thing. Like, I think there's been a little, like, for instance, revisionist history on, say, a guy like Tim Tebow. At the end of the day, Tebow also went to the NFL and won. Like, you know, I can't say that for Stetson Bennett. You know, he was a guy who, let's be honest here, was going to be benched halfway through the year last year. Okay?
Stetson Bennett's better than Tim Tebow.
No.
He's got way better stats in college.
That's all fine and well, but would you trust if Josh Allen got hurt to have Stetson Bennett in at quarterback for Buffalo?
More than Tim Tebow, yes.
You're nuts.
Well, he can come back.
Stetson Bennett can come in and run your offense.
I don't know. I guess he might probably.
Those reports said if Stetson Bennett was taller, he would go.
Bennett's been there for 16 years.
If Stetson Bennett was a couple inches taller, he might go in the top 10. He's 5'11". That's really what holds him back in the NFL, in my opinion.
If you think height's the only thing holding him back, then I don't know. I will respectfully disagree with you on that.
But is he better than Greg Paul's?
Well, that's yes. Look, this is interesting because this is a Georgia team now on looking, and they have a legitimate shot at three-peat. Three-peat has not been done since Minnesota in 1934 through 36. So obviously we're talking 99 years. Like, that's kind of nuts to think about. In Georgia in our lifetimes, to be fair, have they had competitive seasons? Yes. Have they been like this the past couple of years the way they have been? No. And it's an interesting kind of history for them because you have to go back a while to 1981 before that, where they won their last national title. They've had names throughout, like, don't get me wrong, they've had names throughout history, right? Obviously Herschel Walker comes to mind, right? Mm-hmm. Nick Chubb, guys like that, DeAndre Swift, but in terms of actual good, like, teams, like, this is a first for them in a while overall. And at this point, Kirby Smart going to go down in history as probably one of the best college coaches of all time now because of what he's done. And that's the same for Stetson Bennett at quarterback. Now, what's interesting, before I turn it over here, Stetson Bennett is not eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. Do you guys know the reason why?
He's old.
Okay. Perceived old. Even though him and Nate are the same age.
I have no clue.
He's not an All-American. He's never made an All-American team. But you do know who is eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame because has been named an All-American? Max Duggan. It's kind of wild. I don't know. Kind of like one of those things where they should probably tweak the rule a little bit when you think about it. But either way, what's your perceived?
Why is he not an All-American?
I don't know. I don't know how they vote on that. What's your perceived legacy of this Bulldog team, really, in this era?
They finally got over the hump. So many times they would fall short because of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the one year, and
I must say even LSU got them the one year as well.
I remember they one year in 2012 when 2012. Notre Dame could have played Kansas State in the national championship game.
Go Cats.
Well, Notre Dame wasn't going to be in, and it was like Oregon and Kansas State, and we needed one of them to lose, and they both lost on the same night. And then it came down to the SEC championship game winner, and Alabama and Georgia played that year. And I think that was the game where Georgia threw short of the end zone marker, and Alabama won. We could have played Georgia.
I forgot about that team. I mean, you got, like, for instance, their head coach, Mark Reich, who is now in the College Football Hall of Fame. It's crazy to think about.
Yep. So they've been going back since, like I said, 2012. So, and even farther before that, So, they finally got over the hump. Never I guess I've speculated Aaron Judge taking steroids. Might as well speculate here. There might be more cheating involved.
So what you're saying is you think Stetson Bennett is taking HGH?
Yeah, sure. But Kirby Smart might be cheating a little bit more. It is the South, You can do a lot more down there. It seems like with these teams. So
not wrong.
So yeah, good for them. It's gonna be. I'm just really, really looking forward to this 12-team playoff to see if we still see a team like Georgia or Alabama that's dominant like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they're going to be in the field, but are we going to see more, more upsets and stuff like that?
Well, we'll have to sit and stew on it for one more season.
Yep, 10 years.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Gridiron action for college returns in August. So until then.
Now this.
We better do.
Have they officially changed it to Super Wild Card Weekend, or is it still Wild Card?
I think they call it Super, but either way, I don't know. At the end of the day, go ahead.
Before we dive in, are we really surprised that the Cowboys are on Monday night with Troy Aikman on the call?
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, actually. I haven't had to think about that all year. Anyway, NFL playoffs are here. Start with Wild Card or Super Wild Card Weekend, whatever you want to call it. But first, before we get to predictions and breaking down some games, let's take a look at the weekend back and one main storyline, because the Mike Trout of the NFL, Aaron Rodgers, who hasn't done anything in a decade.
But Mike Trout's never done anything.
It's a fair point. But the Packers, once again, look, they choke when it mattered most, and Seattle's in. I mean, It's kind of wild, some of the storylines, and I think that's a more discussion point for another day. But how good does it feel to have the Packers not in the playoffs? It feels great. It feels great to me.
There are only two guarantees in this world, and that is the Packers and the Cowboys will not play in the Super Bowl. But it feels really good that they're not even in the playoffs. So very excited about that. Aaron Rodgers is not a nice guy.
What's the other guarantee, Nick? If you said there's two and you mentioned one.
Cowboys
Cowboys
aren't.
Well, if the Cowboys and the Packers won't play each other in the Super Bowl, is one guarantee.
Yeah, that's two.
They're in the same conference, but they
either way.
That's one.
It's okay. One guarantee. One guarantee. But Aaron Rodgers is not a nice guy. What else can we say about this guy?
He's a choke artist. Overrated.
Yeah, he's definitely overrated. But I mean, he does have the one Super Bowl. I mean,
so does Trent Dilfer.
I mean, if we're gonna call him a choke, not to go there, but not to defend Aaron Rodgers, but Drew Brees lost a lot in the playoffs, and he only won the one Super Bowl too. So I can't hate on him too much as a football quarterback because he did win the one Super Bowl years ago. But no way is he a top 5 quarterback of all time, which people tend to put him there sometimes.
Talk about legacy with that. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cements it in an interesting spot.
Yeah,
for me.
I think he's a great quarterback. He's not one of the greats of all time.
Nate, I don't think we ever really had your opinion on Aaron Rodgers itself. Because, I mean, we're both NFC fans. We in theory see more of him against our teams, but you're a Bills fan, AFC guy. What are your opinion? What's your opinion on Aaron Rodgers?
I like Aaron Rodgers.
Oh gosh,
I like to watch him play. I'm on the minority probably in the area or anywhere. I wanted to see him win, and I wanted to see him in the playoffs. I'd rather watch him than watch the Seahawks just get totally annihilated. At least in my mind, the Packers would have a chance to win.
Wow.
Compared to the Seahawks.
Talk about fresh takes. That's a hot take.
The Seahawks have no chance.
You think the Packers would, though?
Yes.
All right.
Well, the Packers would have played. The Seahawks are playing the 49ers. The Packers would have played someone else, right?
You know who is excited?
No, it would have been locked in. I believe like that because it's record at that point. Because Packers would have been 9-8, and they had the tiebreak on Seattle.
Yeah, you're right. I think they would. I mean, neither one of them are going to beat the 49ers, of course. But I think the Seahawks will get just no chance.
The one person who is
the Geno Smith magic is running out.
It could be. One person that is upset that the Packers lost is excited that they lost is Troy Aikman, because if it was Packers Niners, Cowboys would have lost their primetime Monday night spot.
Probably. Yeah. All right, let's shift focus now to the present playoffs.
Well, I just got to touch on one thing.
Go ahead.
The Lovie Smith firing.
So I didn't want to do any of that quite yet, only because I think we're going to see some more movement here with some other teams that happen to be in the playoffs. What the hell?
I have a theory. I think the Texans wanted to lose. Well, obviously they wanted to get the first pick. They probably told Lovie Smith, "You're losing this game," and he didn't, and they went out and won the way they won.
I think that's part of it. I think he was told that we're going to can you, and so he's like, "Well, watch this then."
You think they were going to can him before the game?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think he knew. The Rumbling, there had been.
I think they fired him after the game.
He'd been on the hot seat for the better part of a month.
Yeah, that was always the plan, I think.
Yeah, I think the part that I think is BS with it is the fact that the Texans wanted to do the minority hire. They did it, and now they're just going to fire him and bring in whoever, which is whack. Because Lovie Smith does deserve to at least coach somewhere.
Isn't it funny though? He coached Chicago.
Yes, Paul, I agree.
Right.
He coached Chicago for all those years, and he gave Chicago the #1 overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago bear legend Lovie Smith.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's bear for life.
Yeah. Like I said, I just find it to be that firing just to be again, I don't want to disparage like the players on the team, but look at the roster they gave him. Like, come on, just read.
It was a great career, Davis.
It's Mills. The Texans. It's the Texans. Read the room, which they don't. So whatever. Anyway, let's start with the Saturday games. Seahawks are at the 49ers. That's the 4:30 game. That's on Fox. 8:15, the night game, NBC. That's Chargers-Jaguars. Obviously, the Seahawks, right? They're the ones who got in because of the Packers' loss. I do disagree, though, with you, Nate. I do think, this is going to be a different style picks than what we usually do here, but I do think the 49ers win, but I really do give the Seahawks a bit of a fighting chance here. Third time they've seen each other. I mean, usually when you get division stuff in playoffs, no matter really the sport, where you see the team the most often type of scenario, it's usually when you get the tighter matchups because you know the tendencies, you know really what everybody might do or plans to do. And to be fair to the Seahawks, right, they're actually the better team offensively at the moment, if you really want to break it down.
Whoa.
Well, part of that, though, you do have to take into consideration, right? 49ers have had their fair share of injuries on the offensive end. Where
is that one we need to fact check, you think? Or what metrics are you going by?
ESPN.
I'll have to take a look. I'm the man on the computer.
Yeah, reality in the back.
What I'm saying here, though, is, right, I think there's a grain of salt. The 49ers, right, have had their fair share of injuries on offense. Right? Debo's been in and out. They just got Mitchell back.
Kittle's starting to get hot, though.
Well, right, and I think a little bit that you have Brock Purdy and...
Do you want me to filter it by yards? How would you like me to filter it?
I mean, I've been looking at leaders, so...
I think he wants to filter it by Pro Bowl quarterbacks.
Well, if that's the case, then Geno Smith, come on down. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not...
That's filtered by yards.
But, I'm also looking at the leaderboard for it, so...
obviously, I'm assuming they swept them, the Niners, in the regular season.
Yes.
Obviously, it's hard to beat someone 3 times, but I don't think a 7 seed's ever won a playoff game. So it's going to be, especially
we've only had 1 year of it.
looking at the 2 matchups this week and knowing that Tua is out.
Or technically 2 years. Wait, is this the 3rd year of it? Of the 7 seeds? Right?
I think it's just 2.
No, it's the 3rd year because they introduced it for the COVID year as like a get out of jail free card type thing.
I can't remember.
Didn't they?
I know the longer regular season schedule or the 7 playoff team, one came before.
Oh, no. They did like 8 teams the COVID year. That's right. I lied. I forgot.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
Paul, to be honest, I'm just trying to forget that year.
I don't blame you. I think
For
every
a lot of
one
different reasons.
I think pretty much every one of us have been trying to forget 2020. So,
I mean, out of the 7 seeds, I give the Seahawks a better shot than the Dolphins.
well, yeah.
But I don't see either one winning.
I don't want to be that guy, but yeah.
The Niners, in my opinion, are the favorite in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, they were my pick for the Super Bowl.
That is
so.
until the Giants go out. But.
Well, we'll get to them obviously here in a couple games. The nightcap, obviously, Chargers-Jaguars. Intriguing matchup. I think these teams kind of mirror each other in a couple different ways. I'd say from the blueprint standpoint of things, they really do. Each kind of goes about things a little bit differently. Chargers, you can make the case a little bit more pass-heavy than, say, the Jags. Both defenses have had really awesome games, and both defenses have really bad games. To that end, the Chargers are only favored by 2.5.
This one, I don't get. I get the line, but I don't get why people are high on the Jags. Did we not see the Jags almost lose to the Joshua Dobbs-led Tennessee Titans the other day? And this is not the same Jaguars team that made the AFC Championship game a while back.
Saxonville.
It's Saxonville. This is a new Jaguars team with all experience, besides the head coach.
I think...
I mean, Doug Peterson's done a great job with them.
Yeah.
The Chargers are healthy. I don't understand how Austin Eckler's never made a Pro Bowl. This is Justin Herbert's first playoff game.
Whoa, wait, what?
Austin Eckler's never made a Pro Bowl. Saw that the other day.
Okay.
Looked it up, and it's true. Yeah, Justin Herbert. So it's his first playoff game, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
as far
first
as I
playoff game because of the
far as I know,
the
anyway.
whole tie, or almost a tie last year thing. But so he came close last year. It'll be interesting, to see him and Trevor Lawrence. This will be a.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's on Saturday night. I think it will be a good game.
It's a solid Saturday night game.
But I like the Chargers in this game.
I think what's the most interesting about that line, as you brought up, I think it's because the Chargers ended the season flat, whereas the Jaguars kind of ended it with some perceived chest is out, puffed out type thing. I agree with you. I'm leaning Chargers here. It's kind of hard not to. They definitely have the more talented team, right? But the difference is Doug Peterson's been in this position before and has done it multiple times before. Staley, the time he's been here so far, hasn't exactly been great, And I think that's where it really could make the difference in this game is on the sidelines. Not so much on the field.
Not to defend Crazy Boy Staley, whatever his name is, but he has had a lot of injuries this year.
Fair.
Mike Williams, I think, is out this week as well, so he's still dealing with these type of things.
And that's fair.
So with the job he's done in a tough AFC, I give him some props to get this Chargers team into the playoffs for the first time in a little bit.
And if you want to go to the game, it's the second cheapest on the weekend right now to go to.
Jacksonville, yeah.
Could you guess the first?
Second cheapest?
No, second
So it's
cheapest
the
is
second
Chargers.
cheapest.
Yeah, but this other, there's one game cheaper. Excuse me.
Niners?
The Niners are cheaper. How about that? Sunday, 1 p.m. on CBS. The Dolphins at the Bills. Unfortunately, I don't think there's much to discuss here. In an ideal world, if Tua's healthy, I think this is a different story. If Teddy Bridgewater was 100%, I even think it might be a slightly different story.
They can't pick somebody else better up on the street than that Thompson guy.
You got Mike Glennon.
Yeah, keep looking.
I think Buffalo should win this kind of pretty handily. I think, look, there's always a chance you could lose the game, right? That's why we play the game type thing.
Herm Edwards, yeah.
But if there was ever, I'd say, a perceived lock of the weekend, I think it would be Buffalo in this game.
You think that line's going to stay at 13?
I bet you it ends up coming down a point and a half.
Really? I would
double digits, let alone in the regular season, but the playoffs.
They tried it last week with the Giants-Eagles.
Yeah.
16 and a half, what was it?
Yeah.
That's way too many.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Nate, I'd imagine you'd agree, though, at least with this part of it, where it's like, you know, it'd be kind of crazy if you didn't take Dolphins plus 13 or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That's so hard.
Well, playoffs, though, is what I'm kind of getting at. I would imagine they don't.
I'm not high
You
on
know.
Thompson at all.
No, I'm not either.
Tyreek Hill does have some good games against the Bills, though.
Right.
Tyreek got hurt last week. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's playing, I think. As far as I know, I haven't seen anything saying that he's not.
I'm just saying if. This is a big if. If the Dolphins have any shot of winning this game, they're going to have to run the ball well.
Yeah.
Raheem Moser's going to have a breakout game like that year the
He
Niners.
broke his thumb. Is he playing? Or broke a finger, didn't he?
Who?
Mostert.
Yeah, but I'd imagine he's playing through that at this point. You just have to kind of splint it up and.
I
He's going to have
I stubbed my toe and I'm out for a couple
if
days.
there's one thing we know about the NFL, they give these guys beaver tranquilizers and they're back out on the field like nothing happened. So, all right, here is and shout out to Jim Senecropi today on Finger Lakes Today for teeing this up for me because, you know, this weekend it's tough to find maybe a little bit of a true upset alert, but this is my upset alert game technically. Okay. Giants at the Vikings, 4:30 on Fox. I honestly love the Giants in this matchup. I really do.
It's making me a little nervous because a lot of people like the Giants, and the Vikings are no slouch. You know, they're sure it's 4:30 Kirk Cousins.
I was about to say it's not 1 p.m. Kirk,
but they still got a lot of talent on that team. They've had a great season.
Mm-hmm.
They've been a little lucky. Is there point differential still close to the minus?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's
I believe
in the
it still is in the minus, yeah.
Really? Wow.
I could be wrong there.
But
that one's probably a for sure
so
one.
they've won the close games. They did win the only game in Buffalo this year, even though Buffalo should have won that game.
Right.
But, you know, they've had a great year. But the Giants are back. I can confirm the receivers did not go on a boat trip this week.
-3, so they are in the negative.
Wow. I can confirm the receivers did not go on a boat trip before this game.
It's good. It's good.
It'd be interesting to see Saquon out there for the first time in the playoffs. Looking forward to it. Obviously, nothing to lose. You know, I think they projected us 5 wins this year. So excited to see if Daniel Jones can still prove a couple haters wrong. But then again, Eli Manning still had a lot of haters at the end of his career. So we'll see. So it will be interesting because there's a really good shot that the Niners are going to beat the Seahawks. It would be something if Tom Brady played the Giants one more time next week.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. It'd be great both, you know.
I mean, he might still play him,
Brady,
you know,
the
next
reason
year.
he's still playing is because he's been waiting for these Giants.
Look, I don't want to be that guy, and I guess I'll jump ahead to Buccaneers by default here. Like, you really think Tom Brady's going through this divorce if he was going to just not play after this year?
It's true, but it is the Giants.
Yeah, I really do love the Giants in this matchup. It's not so much maybe anything on offense, but the defense right now is playing with such a moxie that, I mean, you get them going. And look, that's all about playoffs, and no matter the sport, no matter the level, the team that has momentum is a team that I want to get behind. The Giants have that in my mind.
The only thing is, Minnesota is a tough place to play. That is a home field advantage
for sure. Sunday night on NBC at 8:15, Ravens at the Bengals. It's not looking good for Lamar all of a sudden.
Yeah, these Bills and Bengals games this week, I think, are just like tune-up games, which could be an advantage to them over the Chiefs.
To that end, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a tune-up game for the Bengals compared to, say, the Bills. only because I mean the Ravens can still probably give more fits for the Bengals than I'd say the Dolphins would for the Bills, in theory.
I don't know. Ravens are pretty bad right now without Lamar.
Yeah.
And how stupid was the coin flip thing? Bengals could have won the division, but if they lost that game, they could have been playing.
Well, I mean, it's a
Baltimore.
top celebration I've ever seen when Joe Mixon scored that touchdown. I mean, I loved it.
I think this could be good for the Bengals and the Bills in the long run. If they get a tune-up game like this against a backup quarterback, well, we know the Dolphins are going to be a backup or a fifth string, whatever they're at to now. But the Ravens are going to be. Yeah, they do have Pro Bowl alternate Tyler Huntley as their backup, but it's the Bengals and Bills should just go to work, get the job done, get ready for that big game next week.
I mean, that being said, I'm taking the Bengals. I think the Bengals on the AFC got maybe the most momentum right now, one could argue, but
Yeah.
I think they said Snoop Huntley is close to playing, but Lamar is probably not going to play.
Yeah, I mean, if for whatever reason Huntley can't go, you got Anthony Brown. He has not done anything to impress me in the slightest. I mean, that turned
Anthony Brown or Skylar Thompson? Who you
well,
taking?
no, I was about to say, and that's where that turns
Has
into
Huntley impressed you?
well, slightly more than Brown, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, Nate brings up a good point. At that point, it does turn into kind of like what it is with Sky Thompson. Like, it's like, okay, well, I mean, we got to go out there and play.
Fourth ever under a 500 team in the playoffs.
Yeah, so Monday night, to wrap it up on ESPN, ABC, 8:15, Cowboys at the Bucks. I kind of said this, like I mentioned, obviously, today, and I did bring it up on there as well, but, like, I don't feel like if the Buccaneers were to beat the Cowboys, it's an upset because, I mean, the Cowboys, 12-5, you have to respect what they've done, in theory, in the terms of the wins and the
But how
loss
about
column.
that Commanders win?
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, right, with them.
They were
where-
trying in that game.
That's the thing with them where it's like, if that's what you do against the Commanders, who literally only played half their starters on both sides of the ball, it's not good.
And they did get a better record than the Packers.
And wait, the Commanders did?
8-1, 8-9.
That's a fair point. I forgot about that. I need to put that in the back pocket.
You did lose a
but
better pick.
right, but to that end,
And Paul, you also found your guy.
well, Sam Howell QB won.
He's
all
the guy.
day. Yeah. And to that end, I mean, you can say what you want. Winning ugly, still winning. And that Buccaneers have been doing that for the past month. So, this one's a bit of a toss-up to me. In all honesty, it really it's weird saying it compared to I think what some of us did think about the Cowboys earlier this season, but I think I'm gonna roll Buccaneers here.
So am I. Obviously, I'm very biased with my Cowboys hate. But Tom Brady ain't losing no damn Dallas Cowboys. So Mike Evans is getting hot. They're at home. Cowboys, it's like a holiday now, losing in the playoffs. This is awesome. We get it 2 years in a row. Usually it's like every other year. This year we're going to get it 2 years in a row. The only problem, when August comes around, even July, they're going to be like, the Dallas Cowboys are your favorite to win the Super Bowl.
Stephen A. shows up in his cowboy hat. Obviously, of note, Chiefs and Eagles are the bye teams as the number 1 seeds. Everything Andy Reid touches apparently gets a bye. So
you could hate him or love Andy
Right.
Reid. He is one of the best coaches in NFL history.
all time, yeah. I mean,
Do you think he's the best all time?
um,
You know who I think's the best?
I mean, he's definitely top 5 to me.
I gotta give a shout out. He doesn't know who I am, but Mike Tomlin is the best coach in the NFL, and he has been for quite a while now. The fact that he did not get an under 500 season this year, he's never had one. It's the way that's
Kind of wild, yeah.
That's one of the best jobs he's
And
done, even though they make the playoffs.
And until the last minute of their game, and that's not even something that they did. Just what happened elsewhere.
He's the best.
Yeah.
I personally do.
All right. Wrap up the show here with a final end to a baseball saga that has plagued the country.
I knew he was going back to Minnesota.
Carlos Correa finalizes a 6-year deal, $200 million contract with the Twins. I guess there's a vesting option, max out to 270. Physical has been passed for Minnesota. They already did his reintroductory press conference. It's interesting here, and I want to get to. I think we can get to the education portion of this here in a second, but what a off season for him, right? You think you're going to San Francisco, you think you're going to the Mets, you end up back in Minnesota, and look, he can say that. Well, Minnesota may be where I wanted to be all along, but I don't believe that for a second. This is going to be an interesting legacy thing for him now at this point. And what's wild is he hasn't missed a game since he had the surgery on his right ankle. But clearly something is there if two teams were that concerned about it. And the fact that you agreed to a deal with Minnesota and they passed your physical, but the deal is for half of what you had with the Giants and the Mets, something to me, in my mind, has been confirmed that the structural integrity of that ankle and the brace and the bracket in there, something's up. That's the only thing I can realistically think of with this deal.
Clearly, it's all about the money to him. I don't think he cared if he was playing in some Jamaican baseball team. If they were giving him that money, he would have played. Mm-hmm. It's got to be a little awkward for his Twins teammates that his third option was to come back.
Right. And maybe it even wasn't his third like, that's the part in this we don't know. Obviously, it's our de facto third option that we have to go with because that's what we know. But who knows who was actually the third or fourth, fifth? Who knows, right? Like, could be the Dodgers, could be the Padres, could be the Yankees, could be the Pirates, could be the Royals.
Yeah,
like,
Pirates were offering him 10 years, $10 million. I mean, I don't understand how he didn't accept that.
I know I would have. Free Pro Grease for life.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look for him, for a guy who was trying to change his image going to Minnesota last year. Maybe this is just who he is. I
guess I'll ask you this question then. Is it also a good look then for the Twins?
Yeah. I mean, they don't care what he does. As long as he's hitting some bombs, keeping a good average, staying healthy, playing on the field. They don't care what he does. They don't care how he's perceived. They just want to win a World Series. It's been a while since the Twins have won a World Series.
1991.
So they're just trying to put the best team they can put out on the field. And Carlos Correa, the talent is there when healthy. Like you said, don't know how serious this injury is. It will be interesting to see if he has some setbacks this year. But end of the day, this is good for the Twins. Not good for Carlos Correa's image.
Of course, his saving grace, as any player is now with some of these deals, right, is the fact that DH is universal and he'll be able to extend his career by that. I did want to pose this question, and Nate, you can definitely jump in on this as well. What is there anything that, and this is not so much, I think, us, what we have learned from this. Is there anything that the teams have learned through this process, the players union, and the league, or the league, in all this? Because this is, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there's another sport where this has popped up with a player, this is the first time to me. Like, we've seen players fail a physical before and then sign somewhere and they deem themselves, it's okay, it's worth our risk to run with it. But 2 failed physicals, a deal with that was with the Mets that they wanted to tweak and make certain outs that the union would have had to specifically agree to, only to end up with what literally is half the deal he was looking for. Is there anything like a learning process here for, I guess, any of the parties involved in your guys' minds?
The only thing that comes to mind for me is with the Mets. I don't really understand how they sign him after he fails that physical in Minnesota, right? And then Steve Cohen comes out and says it doesn't.
San
Francisco, excuse me. Yep. It doesn't. Comes out and says, I don't really care. Blah 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 about the physical. I want to sign him. He's gonna be a Met for 12 years, and then he goes back to Minnesota right after a few weeks, and the Mets issue a statement yesterday that consists of 13 words and basically says, "Have a good career, Carlos." Yeah. So I think there's a learning experience there, whether it be in the Mets organization or with Steve Cohen, that you kind of can't count your chickens before they hatch, and I'm really alarmed to see what the Mets found out about Carlos and see how this works out.
Anything for you?
They're saying, are the Twins a contender now? No, the Twins are not. Like, I mean, they're the same team as last year.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah.
they had Carlos Correa last year, so they still got to improve that team on their end. But they didn't get worse because they didn't lose Correa. So they got a lot of work to do. I don't know. Is Carlos Correa going to be happy after a couple years with the Twins? Might want to be traded. That tends to happen. So we'll see how it goes. See if he stays healthy. People will be more interested to trade for him if he is healthy for a long period of time. So we'll see. I don't think he's going to play that whole contract out for the Twins. I think a trade will happen eventually.
Yeah.
If they don't improve the team.
So this is gonna be interesting because I don't think there's a learning thing here for the players because you can't control, in essence, like, I guess, that healing portion of your body, I guess. I don't know.
We are not doctors.
At that point, though, I think there is a learning experience here for the teams, for the league, and for the union. I don't know the exact end date off the top of my head. I couldn't find it quick when I Googled it. For the current agreement, obviously we went into this season in a deadlock, almost pushed back the year. I find it interesting. I think the next bargaining meeting between the union and the league and the owners, there's gonna be conversations about this. We're gonna have, in my mind. And I don't know what it exactly might be. It might be something like what you brought up, Nate, where the owners have to, shut up about these deals before they actually are agreed upon. Because, I mean, that's the thing. Technically speaking, Correa should be a Met. And so I think there's going to have to be like a Carlos Correa rule. Obviously, it won't be named the Carlos Correa rule, but it will be known as the Carlos Correa rule, where when you're signing these deals and agreeing to these contracts, that certain stipulations have to be in place, and whether or not they get met, determines where you end up, in essence. And I don't think that affects maybe free agency in the scheme of it, but I think it might be a necessary step moving forward, though, with dealing with medicals and physicals and stuff like that for players. Because, look, at the end of the day, I don't think... I know you talk about Carlos Correa's legacy. To me, I don't know if it really affects it one way or another, to be honest. I think it does affect, though, the perceived notion of kind of how these things go about with players in teams negotiating these deals. I mean, at the end of the day, and look, this was something I saw crossover from the baseball subreddit to the NBA subreddit, where the joke became... John Heyman was Scott Boras' talking puppet through this all, and they were making jokes about it in a completely other separate sports subreddit. And to me, that's just not good in that sense, because to me, it just gives the perceived notion that, say, the baseball reporters are just these movable objects, no different from, say, this microphone or that pen or Nate's headset, So I think there's definitely a learning tool to be had here in this experience. But, hey, we're one step closer to baseball. I think we're a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting. So
Sweet.
Positives all around. And Aroldis Chapman is still a free agent, so he can sign with the Pirates.
There we go.
All right, so that will take care of fresh takes for today. Nick, any shout-outs today?
Yeah, I just, first of all, before my shout-out, I want to say big weekend for me. Starts off with Notre Dame at the Dome.
Yeah.
Still call it the Carrier Dome. I don't even know what the other name is. But
JMA Wireless Dome.
Might be their,
Actually, I think they're just calling it the JMA Dome now. It's weird. Anyway, sorry.
might be their fourth straight win. My Irish could go into the Dome and get the victory. It's a weird series. The home team never wins in the Notre Dame Syracuse series. I've been going back since the Big East days. So I'll be rooting for the Irish. Hopefully, I'm trying to get tickets for that game. But also, my Australian Open starts on Sunday night.
True.
Big tennis Grand Slam guy. But my favorite is the Australian Open. It's going to be a good one.
Well, there's big news about that on the women's side of things.
What's the big news?
Naomi Osaka.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats to her. She is pregnant.
Mm.
Looking forward to that Victoria Azarenka, Sophia Kenin first-round matchup. I think this is Coco Gauff's breakout year, breakout tournament.
I'm assuming Pagula's in it, right? Not to interrupt again, but
I believe so.
okay, good.
And Novak Djokovic being the number 4 seed is a joke. Especially this is his first Australian Open that he has dominated for years. So expect him to be in the finals against Nadal. So looking forward to that. My shout out this week is from fantasy football. I'm a commissioner of 3 leagues.
Proud commissioner.
Shout out to Andrew Lucchesi, Blake Crawford, and Jakeem Brown on winning my 3 leagues. No, my teams did not win any of those leagues. But shout out to those 3 guys. Congratulations, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah. Thanks again, Nick, as always. Always a pleasure. Nate Sharman behind the scenes. Appreciate you as always. Hard work behind there. Go ahead. I can tell you want to say something.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that.
That was
Nicest thing you said about me all week.
Wow. Every now and then, you know. All right. If you can't watch us live, always catch up on YouTube. Anchor. Almost said Stitcher for some reason. Anchor, Spotify.
That's a throwback.
Thursday.
Catch us on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah.
Foursquare.
No, but for real, appreciate everybody as always. We'll talk with you next week. Enjoy the NFL playoffs. We'll talk to you then.